Hey everyone, Coy from Over Mountain Games here, back with a COVID haircut, finally. Last video I look a little wispy, but got some good news. The Everhart Tabletop Alpha has launched. It is pretty bare bones as of right now, only has a couple of units from both Free Cities and Realm of Blood, but it's going to be a good solid test for everything that is coming up. It's a good foundation to really build on. So I am looking forward to it. I'm going to try and get a local test going as much as I can anyway, heavily masked and probably at my apartment with friends that I know are clean. Other than that, everything has been pretty solid around here. I've been writing away. I've come to a point where I think the game is good and I really want to expand on what we have. I want a AOS feel in the sense of it's not hard. It's a pretty easy to play game for anyone to pick up and play, and you remember the rules months down the road. You can pretty much play at any time and understand what's going on from here to there, instead of having to relearn rules or something like you might have had to for Warhammer Fantasy Battles or older 40K or Infinity or War Machine Hordes. Like a lot of that stuff aren't simple games. So it doesn't always have that level of easiness to it that you can just walk in and play at your store. But that also poses another challenge. Is it too basic for people to have fun? Because at a time, right, you can almost argue that, oh, well, I could write something like this. Maybe. Yeah, probably actually. But can you create artificial depth? Or organic depth even? Because the rules themselves are simple, but you start adding on upgrades, terrain, weapons, everything like that. That starts to create the depth. So it's not necessarily a artificial depth, but it's also an organic depth. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. I would say it's a mixture of both, right? Because you're creating rules to make depth, but it can end up making more depth than what you originally intended. Either way, the alpha is here, and I am very excited. I am so excited to finally be at a playable point in the game. It has been in writing for 8 months now. Yeah, I pretty much started at the beginning of this year, and that has been a kind of a whirlwind, not only in my personal and professional life, but also in this, because I've changed the game so many times, but I finally feel like it is at a place where it is good. I think resolution mechanics are fantastic. I think the combat is good. We just need to tweak maybe some wording, or maybe even the way it operates, especially around terrain. I kind of created some terrain rules that I really like, but I feel like they could be a little bit better. So that is something I've been kind of going back on and working on as of kind of a quick update video. But I got another couple things I've been working on. I've been working behind the scenes here on some models, coming up with some ideas to actually paint out an army and do it here on the channel. So that way you'll know what an army might consist of for Everhart. As well, I've been thinking of a couple of different challenges. Since Everhart is model agnostic, and really the only thing that matters is the base, I've been thinking, what can I build models out of? I have a 3D printer. I have multiple 3D printers. I have Games Workshop's fine models. I have tons of other companies' great models. But could I build models? Probably. Could I cast my own models? Yeah, even more so. Could I do paper minis? Yeah, probably. And so I've been taking a look at that. seeing a challenge, if I could build an army completely out of, say, paper minis. I could find some online or make my own, put them on the correct bases or base sizes, and then go from there. You could even have a token base. I mean, technically, they don't need models on them. They just need the base to exist. And the physical representation is literally just a convey of what they might have across the table. So if you, say, for instance, had tokens that you might have made. I used to make them out of a circle punch and magic cards and would place them on round discs. And so the discs would move across the table and everything in that sense, but on a grid. But could we do that for this? Could I get a circular punch and 25 millimeter, wooden discs, or 2 millimeter or something like that, and then go from there? Probably. It's something I want to experiment with. Doesn't require any painting. Still a legal army. The only thing I really wanted to avoid when I was originally thinking of Everhart and it being model agnostic was a couple things. I knew it needed to be fantasy, so I didn't really want sci-fi to be in there too heavily. I mean, these town militia are actually guardsmen. They're guardsmen models. I mean, maybe, but it doesn't fit any fantasy that has been thought of for Everhart's vision, and it might be your vision, but it may not be necessarily allowed. Now, there will be a sci-fi game coming with fully different rules and stuff like that I want to call Everstar, but who knows? It's a working title. And have those work there. So, tournament organizers want, if we ever get to my lofty idea of actually building a truly competitive game that makes tournaments happen, tournament organizers would have the ability to turn away models that are obviously blatantly hateful, inspired, or just don't fit the overall theme. But the materials probably wouldn't be broken out of. I mean, technically, if you have the right base, you could play with Lego, and that would be pretty legal. Now, I have seen some Star Wars Legos used in Kings of War tournaments. I don't really like that. I think that would probably be in the turn away section, because that just wouldn't be truly allowed. But I don't know as of yet. I'm still kind of playing around with it. I think the building models, though, out of different pieces, maybe if you have a way to build models out of cardstock, which is a huge thing. If you know how to build models out of like aluminum or recyclables or something to that effect, awesome, go for it. Just get the right base sizes if you're wanting to play in mythic battles. But if you're playing chronicle battles, or you're in the role-playing game side and you're playing that in those battles, go for it. Screw it. Have whatever models you want on whatever base sizes you really want. I mean, if you want to be as goofy, large base sizes, who cares? Go for it. If you're playing a tournament or mythic battles, usually you want to stay towards the guidelines, which are on the alpha, by the way, for what we have currently. But other than that, go for it. Screw it. What does it matter? I mean, if you had a full Lego army, that could be pretty cool, There used to be a lot of really cool old knight in castles sets from back in the day that had pieces from whenever. I was actually thinking of an army that I think would be really cool if it was fully Imaginext, but not the new stuff. I mean, I'm talking about the old, like 2003, 2004, 5, 6 Imaginext that was smaller scale, not as big, but maybe repainting it or just having them as they were and go from there. I actually think that'd be kind of cool. But stuff like that, my vision, I don't necessarily have a vision for what things can look like, right? My vision is I want the players to be as open as possible. If you're really into, samurai culture, Japanese culture, shinobis, things like that, and you want to build an army around it, go for it. If you imagine from reading the text how these things are, go for that. Build it that way. I really want this to be an open-ended game. With Kings of War, since they still produce models, right? Mantic still pushes their vision for what this looks like. You can use whatever at the end of the day. It's model agnostic. But with them pushing models, they still say, this is what this looks like. You know, it's hard to have, they have like 2 angel characters for Basileia. That those characters look like the models that they have. And it's hard to say these look like anything else. War Machine Hordes, same thing. They're not really model agnostic. They kind of require the correct models. Age of Sigmar, not model agnostic at all. As much as people want to say, yeah, if you have these guys that are making models, if they're using models that aren't Games Workshop or something, then, and if they don't allow it, then they're not good people. But a lot of the times, even those people saying that are still like, I don't know about that model, man. Like that's kind of that's not really the model I want to see across the table, or that's not well painted, or something to that effect. They want the model that it is. If there is a model for Manfred von Karstein, who I don't think is in Age of Sigmar, and you use any model other than Manfred, get out of here. No one wants you. You know, you can't even use old Nagash for new Nagash. It's not like Magic where you have reprints of cards. So if you're using, Snapcaster Mage from Innistrad and use the new Snapcaster Judge promo, then that's whatever. Who cares? If you're using Distress or not Distress, Duress from, what is it, Urza's Legacy? Or using the one from Khans of Tarkir, or using one from Battle for Zendikar or Classic Zendikar. Who cares? It's all the same thing. The art's the only thing that's different in the card layout, but in that, the rules are the same. It's the same name. And so having that level of legacy that happens to it, to where, sure, if you could make Nagash as big as new Nagash, like old Nagash as big as new Nagash, maybe, but even then, players are still just like, I don't know. And tournaments are certainly like, no, you just get out of here. You're not playing with that. They don't like alternate models. Like, you can't use Frostgrave soldiers for spearmen or something like that for Cities of Sigmar. So it kind of requires a correct model fashion, and tournaments will turn you away for slight things. I've seen a couple pieces that you have used Reaper that people got turned away for, and this wasn't even at a GW store. So it's just kind of upsetting. I mean, I understand it. It's a game that's developed specifically to work with those models, right? So you use those models for those things. I have a lot of reservations about the validity of that. Because if you can find a scale that works, if you can build a model that looks exactly like a Stormcast model and things of that nature, then go for it. And then don't even get me started on 3D printing. I mean, 3D printing models is like it is the cut you out kind of deal. Like, it is not about to happen. If you're 3D printing models, you can get out of here. They don't want that. And I mean, I understand it to an extent, 2 ways. One, you're hurting stores. You're hurting local stores. You're going to hurt, those that probably need it most from you buying your Havoc kit or your Stormcast kit or whatever, your Witch Ales. You're going to need that revenue. So yeah, if you come in and you didn't buy anything from them, they have a right to be a little bit upset, because you printed your models off, you might have pirated the books or something. You're playing almost for 100% free. I mean, and at least not getting anything to a store. But then it hurts GW. I don't really care about that. But I do worry about local game stores. I mean, I've essentially grown up in local game stores. I'm 23 now. I've been playing in local game stores since I was 4 years old. My brother used to work at one, and then I played a lot of D&D in gaming stores, and then I played a lot of Magic in other gaming stores. I played at a Games Workshop, actually a lot, in Memphis for years. So I've been in local game stores a lot, and I want to support those places, and I want to see them grow, because growth is important. My local game store that I plan to pretty much base Everhart out of once this COVID ends, or at least gets to a manageable point to where we can go out again, because it looks like it's nothing that we're not going to live with, unfortunately. They're opening up a new gaming section specifically for wargaming. Perfect. That's what I want. And so I'm going to take advantage of that and push Everhart, maybe not as the premier game, but there's a lot of gamers at those stores, and I think at other stores, that are wanting something new and fresh, and this could be it. I just hope it has the staying power to be their favorite game. Who knows? I mean, a lot of them play role-playing games outside of playing war games. Maybe this could be both. You could take on both sides. Who knows? I just hope that is something that comes into fruition. I don't know how I'm necessarily going to get it there, but I'm going to start one step at a time and go from there, as this is as of now, solo project. So, well, that is all for here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or face the wrath of the netherworld. And ring that screaming bell for more videos similar to this one, and get notified of it somewhere. Check the description below for more links and that alpha. I look forward to hearing all your feedback for it. Thanks again. Happy gaming.